Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Aloha Friday Marketing Jam Session. My name is Tom Gaddis, my business partner and general contractor, Nick Ponte, on the call as well. So awesome to have you here. We're excited. We got a great show lined up for you today. We're going to be talking about how to provide and deliver services that you know nothing about. Is it a pipe dream? Can it be done? Can you do it? You'll find out the answer. We can't tell. You can't just give away the answer like that, Nick. Leave them with some suspense. I was trying to set up a cliffhanger there.
Body language. It's all body language. I didn't say anything.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to take your questions. We're going to have a great time on this edition of the Aloha Friday Marketing Jam Session. So I'm going to cue up the intro, and we'll see you back here in one momento.
It's now time, the moment you've been waiting for. Get ready for the fastest 60 minutes of marketing strategies and tactics to build your remote empire from anywhere in the world. After 167 agonizing hours, they've finally returned. From the sun-soaked Sin City and the sandy shores of Maui, Hawaii, now back for a brand new Aloha Marketing Jam Session. It's your hosts, the Offline Sharks and Remote Millionaires, Tom Gaddis and Nick Ponte.
Oh, man. Listen to that crowd out there. They're fired up. Please. Okay, all right. Keep going. Okay, yeah. Keep going. Okay. All right. No. That's enough.
Funny. You're being a funny man today.
Well, looks aren't everything, Nick. Looks aren't everything.
Yeah, I'm surprised people haven't asked us if we're brothers yet, you know, with the clean shaven, the haircut. I mean, we're looking real close here.
Yeah, it's pretty funny, huh?
Yeah.
Pretty funny. Yeah, well, welcome, everybody. Excited you're here. We've had lots of stuff going on in our community this week. Another group of new Remote Millionaires members to welcome in. Welcome to everybody that jumped in the program. I think we only have like one or two spots, and that's not like some fake scarcity thing. Just so you know, we really do only have like one or two spots left in there for this round. But excited to be getting on intro calls with everybody and talking to them. Really impressed with what a lot of the new members are doing and looking to do in their businesses. So really interesting. You guys are going to love seeing their results and talking about them, all that stuff. What else has been going on this week? Let's see. We had a new podcast episode that dropped yesterday with Akin and his wife, Tara. They're Remote Millionaires members, and they are like a power couple. They're like both working in the agency, building the business. They're doing it together. The podcast interview I did with them is really awesome. They've been featured in some African-American entrepreneur publications and stuff. So really great. If you haven't listened to their episode, you should go to remotemillionaires.com/podcast. You should listen to that. Next week, we've got Google Business Profile expert Sherry Benelli, who is also an RM member. She's going to be on. I talked with her. It's another great interview. You're going to watch that as well. So if you're not subscribed to the podcast, make sure you do that.
Get subscribed.
Yeah, they should get subscribed. They should. And if you're new to this weekly show, to the Aloha Friday Marketing Jam Session, we like to start every episode out with what we call shout outs. And what you should do right now, because I know we haven't said this in a while, so I'm going to show you. You should go to this link. Where is it at? Where is it at?
We can see you. We can see your name.
Oh, there it is. You should go to this link and leave a way to go. Good job. And we're going to give away some Cash App money to the people that do that. Nick, I know you have been like up to your eyeballs in drywall and water and 2x4s and running the agency and doing Offline Shark stuff. So what have been the highlights of your week?
It's been pretty crazy. Yesterday, what's the day? Friday. Yesterday, we our salesperson closed a $12,000 website deal.
I saw that. That was awesome.
Yeah, I didn't share about it in the Facebook group, but I did mention it to the millionaires, and the significance of that is, you know, at the end of the day, I didn't really have any part of it. You know, my salesperson sold this website, and it's definitely a high price website. Project management team is going to come in, take care of the details of the project, send an intake form over to the client. That information is going to go to the project management team, and they're going to work with the website developers. You know, so if you know you're on this live stream right now and you saw the topic, you know, executing, selling services that you know nothing about those services, especially high ticket, you know, it could be a website, right? Websites they can be high ticket. I would say a $12,000 website is decently high ticket. And what I just laid out for you, that model, that path, you can do that without knowing how to build a website. That's one example of that. So yeah, that's that was yesterday. But yeah, I mean, lots of stuff going on in the agency. We've actually had a few problematic clients lately, and maybe even not really the clients. I'd say just challenging campaigns. That's probably a better way of looking at it, where maybe some of you can relate to this experience where, you know, you set up an ad campaign for somebody or an SEO campaign, and the results are just not as fast as you'd like them to be. We're experiencing that in some travel markets. You know, our industry in Hawaii, or our market, is really based off of the tourist industry. We have a lot of visitors coming to Hawaii. So we have a lot of clients that are, you know, doing activity-based services, like, and not digital marketing activity-based services. I mean, like surf lessons. They sell activities.
Kayaking, right?
Yeah, kayaking, those kinds of things. And, you know, this is the slow season. September, October is the slow season. And, you know, if things start to get slow for anybody that you're running advertising for, they're going to immediately be like, hey, what's going on with their advertising? Things are slow. When, you know, this is kind of a typical thing if you have a seasonal business. Does anybody do any or have any seasonal clients or clients that have a seasonal industry? I'm curious to what niches are out there with everybody here that's with us, or maybe you worked with some in the past. But those are some of the things, Tom, some of the challenges, you know, some of the wins, things that we've been working on.
Yeah, well, I'll be interested to hear about how you resolve the things with the clients, because I know you love to do like these little case studies about it. Maybe you can do one on those. That would be great, because, you know, yeah, I know a lot of times we get on here and we're a lot of rah and talking about everything there, but every business and everybody, everyone, I don't care what they tell you, they face challenges and difficult things. And so I think it's just as important to acknowledge that and realize how we move through it, right? Like, well, how do you move through those things? Well, number one, you don't give up. You just keep moving forward. If you don't know how to do something, you figure it out. If you can't figure it out, you just make something up and give it a whirl. Like, you can't stop. That's the thing, right? Mm-hmm. Like, when you have a client and you're working with them, like, if there's an issue, you got to deal with it. So yeah, really good.
One of the things for that seasonal topic for the seasonal clients, and I see that Mark, fellow remote millionaire Mark Bolzer, he says his niche is in window tinting. One of the things that I do is, or that we're doing, is during that slow season, we're tapping into the email marketing for those customers. You know, so, you know, if we're just running ads and obviously the traffic is low because, you know, there's not a lot of people searching for these services or activities at that time. Well, what else can we do to drum up some more business? So we're managing the risk a little bit by drumming up business through past clients, reaching out to their email list, sending an email on their behalf. It's one of the things that I'm working on right now, is bringing in, you know, somebody to help with sending emails, not from the agency, but from our clients to their customer list. And Tom, this is something that I didn't even tell you yet. You know, we have a client that we're doing this for. He didn't even pay us to do email marketing, but, you know, he's already paying us to do other things. So what we're doing is we're just going to start doing email marketing for him. We're just going to start sending emails. And once we get some results for that, we're gonna be like, hey, if you want to keep these going, it's going to be this much. Yeah,
that's a great idea. Layering in some other services to help boost up the slow time.
Yeah, and not getting paid up front, you know, sometimes is the ticket, especially if there's a challenging time, like it's a little slower. You know, it would be kind of, I don't know, tone deaf to ask this person to, you know, now pay us for email marketing. Not completely tone deaf. I mean, you could do it, but it is much easier to just come in and start sending some emails and pulling the trigger and bringing in some sales, and then saying, like, you see what we've done there, look at these results, point to the numbers, we can keep this going. It's been this much work. It'll take this much money to keep moving forward with this. Does that sound like a good plan? and they're going to be like, yeah, we like the sales. Let's keep going.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a great use of do it like leading with value and not worrying about getting the money up front. You know, it's interesting because just this morning I was responding to someone in the Remote Millionaires Slack workspace because another member had posted a thing where he's going to do 30 days free of this service to bring in a client. And another member had said, I'm not really sure about how great that is to be working for free. Like, let's discuss. And so, it's interesting because my comment on that was like, it's all about context and what else you have going on in your business, right? Like, that's not an isolated question that can just be answered easily with a yes or a no. Like, the answer, like a lot of things in business, is, well, it depends. Like, what else is going on around them? Like, what is the process you have to turn those people into a paying client? Like, do you know your numbers? Like, do you know by doing, 3 free clients, you're going to get 1 client that pays? Like, if you know those numbers, if you're just starting, like, you're figuring that part out. So why would you do those things? So number one, I think it's understanding that those types of strategies are ways to generate traction and get some confidence. So even if you give it a try and the person doesn't turn into a paying client, you've actually learned a lot of stuff in that process. You've delivered a service for 30 days. You've communicated back and forth with a potential client. Like, you're getting valuable skills that you should be learning anyway. And you're just have the possibility of getting paid at the end of 30 days to learn them. But regardless, you still have these skills. But like, what I wouldn't do is just make it a cookie cutter thing that you do all the time. Like, you want to test it, but maybe it's not something that you plan to do long-term. You just set a goal and you say, look, I'm willing to work with 2-3 people for free to see if I get some traction, 5 people. If I don't get any traction, then I'm moving to a different model. Or if it doesn't pan out, like, I'll move to a different model. Or maybe I'm going to keep doing that until I get my first 3 clients. And then once I have 3 clients, I'm going to stop doing that. So like, I think you want to have a clear plan of action in. Now, if you're doing it and your numbers line up, like, if like I said, if every time I do give away 10 of these things for free, I'm going to, I'm killing it. I'm crushing it with the closes and I'm closing 50% of them, then why would you stop doing that? Like, you would be crazy to stop doing it at that point. So again, it's all about, what's going on in your business, what you're trying to do, where you're at, like, where are you at? That's a really important part of things, and then what else you have going on. If you have a business that's thriving and, you have 15 to 20 clients, like, you'd be nuts to give something away for free. Like, why would you do that? Like, you've got a thriving business, right? So anyway, unless you're in a situation like you just talked about, I thought that was a really smart use of that strategy. Like, you considered all the different things you could do and you picked something that fit the specific situation.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's important to remember that not everything is black and white. You can think outside the box and you can bend the rules a little bit for each specific situation. Another scenario that came up yesterday, and because, my team, they're running the agency, but occasionally they'll say, I got this question, or we're thinking about doing this. What do you think? And that's my role as a CEO, to help them consult in which direction I think that they should go. And so one of them being, and I see a lot of the questions coming in. We have some really good questions today, Tom. We should definitely
we're going to get to some of those here in a minute. I see a couple I won't talk about.
And so one of the scenarios that came through yesterday from the sales team is that they were prospecting a company, a restaurant business, and they want to sign up with us. They want to sign up. They're a taco company and they want to bring in their restaurant, but they have a franchise deal that's on the horizon. It's about to be locked in, and they have 50 locations that they're going to be adding next year as well. And so there's kind of like 2 projects going on, right? Like, number one, they want to do marketing and SEO for their existing location that they have, but they're also trying to and they're not completely sold yet, right? We haven't brought them in for that one location yet, but they're also curious about what it's going to look like for the 50 locations. And my team is like, so, are we going to charge them X amount more? Like, is it, 50 retainers for one for each location, or they get a special price, or what is it? And so, normally, like, yeah, it's 50 locations, 50 different businesses. Those are 50 different retainers. The work doesn't change, that's to hold on to that will be pretty black and white, to not have any flexibility in making the deal work somehow. Because, hey, a business that has 50 locations, that would be a fantastic customer, don't you think? How can we make it work? What would make sense? I mean, it's going to be a lot of work at the end of the day. But my response to them was like, let's worry about the first location first. Let's make sure that we can help them with the first location. That's always going to be, that's going to be X amount. When they start the franchise deal and it's, it looks like it's going to be solid and actually going to happen, then we can start talking about discussing these other locations. But, if you have 50 businesses, you should be generating a considerable amount of cash flow. It wouldn't be that crazy to think that, you're going to have a higher priced marketing retainer at that point. But, it's very difficult for somebody that doesn't have 50 locations to hear a price of what it would be like for 50 locations to get SEO, because they don't have, $300,000 a month coming into their bank account. If you give them a retainer price of, 30 grand a month, they're going to trip out. So we have to wait until more things are in motion. And, I don't know that really ties into what you were saying, but I think I just needed to kind of vent that a little bit, Tom, there about how things, they're not always black and white. You need to be flexible on some of those things, especially with the bigger deals, to make it work.
And I mean, I think that's a great point too. Cause you're right. If they don't have 50 locations, you shouldn't be pitching them a price for 50 locations.
We're going to lose the one location.
Yeah. You're going to lose the one location, because when you come in, if they had 50 locations and you came in at 30 grand, they'd probably look at that price and be like, that's a deal, exactly. But when they don't have that, you're right. So super smart to do that. Yeah. Really great. Here, let's take a couple of these questions and then we'll do the shout outs a little later. I see one question I can't tell who this is, but this is coming in from a member who is in ORS. And he says they've been targeting a lot of cities in the US, dentists. 2 weeks now, I'm not getting any replies from them. Like, they're opening my email 5 to 6 times and the opener is really good, but they start replying. I need your help. I'm using your templates 1 and 2. So there's a couple of things. One, in today's digital age, sending one email it's very difficult to get a reply back from that, right? You need to have a follow-up sequence. So one thing that I would be doing in this situation is I would be segmenting out the people that are repeatedly opening my email and sending them additional marketing messages. There's 2 things. I'm not sure why you picked dentist. Like, dentist is a difficult market anyway. There's a lot of competition in that space. So I'm hoping that you pick dentists because you have some credibility with helping dentists. So I would segment out the people that have opened my email 5 to 6 times and send them a more customized email about how I can specifically help them, and maybe showcase a case study of a dentist that I've helped so that I could do that. So maybe you want to record a short Loom video and be like, hey, and I will sometimes, because I can see when they're opening the emails, I will sometimes just call people out and tell them that I know they're opening my email. So I'll start the video that way. Hey, this is Tom. I noticed you opened my email a few times I sent you last week, but you haven't replied. I thought I'd shoot a quick video and maybe answer some questions that could be going through your mind, right? Here's a dentist, Like, I'll just do that. And that can work. I see Sandy had some good tips here too, with maybe following up. A phone call is another good way to follow up. Like, hey, I sent you an email last week. I was just want to follow up, see if you have any questions. Without knowing too much about your agency situation, there are a couple of things that I tell people when it comes to niche selection and stuff like that. And I just want to reiterate that here real quick. This may or may not be the case for you. You can tell me in the comments if it is. But when we're picking niches, oftentimes people if you've never had a client, it's best to stay away from what people consider the quote high ticket niches, because those niches are competitive. Dentists, doctors, attorneys, you have to have your stuff together to not only help those people, but to appear to be a credible company. Like, we talked about this before. One of our members sent a proposal out to an attorney, and the attorney messaged him back and was like, the reason I didn't choose you is because you were too cheap, and I just assumed you can't be good. Like, that's how that market operates, right? So it, maybe, start with a niche that's different. Or The exception to that is two things. One, if you have experience in the niche, maybe you are a dentist and you've done marketing for your own practice, or if you haven't, you should do marketing for your own practice, make a case study of those results, and then reach out to other dentists and offer to help them. Like, look, I'm looking to expand and get out. This is what I'm doing. I just had a call with somebody the other day that has a salon, and that's what I recommended they do. Like, you should case study what you're doing, because she's generating 30 to 40 new clients a week for her salon.
Wow.
30 to 40 with Facebook ads. I was like, screenshot that, make a video, do whatever you can, and then just reach out to somebody, be like, hey, I have a salon, this is what I'm doing. So anyway, but I think what you're missing there is the follow-up. It's not a one-shot deal in today's digital age. You know, you can get lucky and close some deals right off the bat like that. But if they're opening their emails, they're interested. So, you know, what else can you send them that might take them to push that step a little further? So obviously the messaging has interested them. So what do they need? What else do they need to make that leap of contacting you? Well, they need to trust you and they need to trust your company. So if I were sending follow-up emails, I know my offer, my initial thing I sent them has piqued their interest, but I would send them some things that build that trust, right? Oh, that's great. That's awesome.
That's funny.
That's awesome.
So then you may want to build up your authority a little bit, like Tom mentioned, you know.
Maybe, like we were talking about earlier,
Yeah.
if you can find a dentist that you know or somebody you know, offer to do 30 days for free with your goal being that you're going to turn that 30-day free project into a case study. So just reach out to a dentist and be like, hey, I'm looking to build up some case studies. I'm willing to work for 30 days at no charge, as long as you let me use you as a case study. Are you willing to do that? And then get somebody, make the case study. Maybe they turn into a client, maybe they don't, but now you have some credibility that you can use to follow up. But I think their follow-up is the issue.
That's a really good point. I you know, it's so true that, like, once you figure out who's opening and who's clicking, they've basically raised their hand, right? They've given you a little head nod, like, hey, I'm interested. I've opened this up, you know. And what we do, like Tom mentioned, is really double down on that. And I really like to go with the curiosity route. Like, everything that I'm going to do after that point is to generate more curiosity on their end on what we are doing. So, like Tom mentioned, personalizing, you know, if you can give them case studies, if you can take screenshots of something that they have online that's public and point their attention to it and give them some sort of, you know, generate some sort of curiosity as to why they're doing something wrong and it could be better and it's very specific to them. Like, that's the kind of stuff that is going to get more of a response. So, you know, my suggestion too is that, number one, you have this resource that you're a part of right now. It's this Facebook group and this community. So I would post that email in the community and try to get some feedback there too, because your email, while we have given you great emails, which clearly they're getting opens and clicks and all that stuff, you might need to add a little bit more to that. And because you're prospecting outside of the US to a top tier industry, you might need to really think about how you're going to diversify your authority, like Tom mentioned, you know, and he's given you a number of ways there. But that could be a very powerful thing for you to do, especially because you're, you know, outside of the US, coming into the US, trying to prospect there.
Yeah, you may even want to ask in the Facebook group, like, who else is working with dentists? Like, what are they doing there? Like, maybe you can get some ideas there. And then, watch this. I'm going to tie this all the way back to the topic of this live show of fulfilling high-ticket services you know nothing about, or delivering to a market maybe you know nothing about.
Right.
So here we go. Another strategy that you could do is you could go to a place like Legit, Fiverr, Upwork, any of those online jobs, PH. Post a job and say, hey, I'm looking for someone, as social media is what you're doing. I'm looking for someone that has experience with social media to dentists. If you do, please apply. Please, just make a job post and ask that specific thing. Anyone out there on this freelance site that has worked with dentists or works with dentists. And if you get some replies, then you could vet those people and you could agree, you could be like, hey, look, I'm getting like opens in my emails. I know I'm going to get a client. I want to use you for fulfillment. So like, can we just go through this process? What are your packages? What does it look like? Do they have samples they could give you that you could then use to sell what you're doing so that you can then give them the work? So we a lot of times do that with web developers and various things like that. We'll use their portfolio or their things because we're going to use them for fulfillment. Now, don't do that if you're not going to use them for fulfillment. Like, don't treat somebody like that. But if you are going to use them for fulfillment, then, go ahead and just ask them if it's okay. Do you mind if I use these things, to show people as examples? So that would be another way to shortcut that route. And then I'll give you some other tips on how you can do that. Like if you know nothing about the service, there are some other things that doing that process will teach you as well.
That's a really good idea. And you can also, especially if you did find somebody who has really had a lot of experience in that industry, ask them about that. Figure out what their experience is. How many people have they worked with? How many dentists have they helped? What are the numbers? And then you can use some of those numbers in your outreach to those dentists, because you're going to be working with this person potentially who could be helping you deliver. So like you could say things like, collectively, we've helped over 67 dentists do XYZ. And that's because you now are working with somebody in a one-to-one or team capacity. So that is we do that in RM all the time. We do authority hacking. A lot of our members there will use some of Tom and my credentials to get their foot in the door with businesses that they normally wouldn't feel like they could get their foot in the door with.
Yep. All right, let's take another question down here. Here's one. Somebody says, what kind of online strategy should we use for a food festival event for the holidays? FB ads, looking for more foot traffic to the event. So, Chandra, there's, a lot of things. One would be Facebook ads could be great, especially is this an existing festival? Like, is it an existing thing that you would be promoting, or is it something you're starting up? Because if it's an existing thing, a really great thing to do would be to see if they have any type of email list, if they've been building any type of email list of people that attend the festival, and then use that list to create an audience and then target lookalike audience and things like that. Another thing could be an every door direct mail postcard campaign. Like maybe if the festival has, several different food places in it, right? Like I just went to an Italian festival here in Vegas. I think it was great. Sophie, the lightest eater in our family, she had like 5 meals while we were there. She had pizza, crepes. She was like, I love the Italian festival.
Wow.
Like, she was chowing down. So there were quite a few food vendors in there. So one thing you could do is go to the food vendors and be like, hey, can everybody give me a coupon? Put those multiple coupons on a mailer, and then every door direct mail that out to bring people in. That's one strategy you could use. Also too, never underestimate free publicity, reaching out to the local papers and the local event publications to see, maybe sending a press release. You might be able to get some free publications that way, or reaching out to a local news channel to see if they could do a story on it.
One thing that we have done in the past too, because, specifically for the online stuff, is like we've run giveaways. So if maybe you can, reach out to some of the vendors and collectively get some gifts or some things that you can give out as kind of a bribe to get people to help share your, posts on social media or something like that. So, for example, we'll make a post, and this obviously works very well if your Facebook page for the event has a bunch of people there. If it doesn't have a bunch of people following it or subscribing yet, you may want to start out by warming up that Facebook page by running like a brand awareness type campaign. So it'd be more of a 3-step approach, right? You build that little audience if you don't have it yet, but once you do have it, or if you already have it, then you can make a post giving away, all these different great gifts. And the way that you do it is by random selection. Anybody that and shares the post, comments below, which gives you that viral engagement, which goes out to a bigger, broader audience of people. And then you just build a list off of that post and that little asset that you're building. So it might be like, post, comment, go to this page, and subscribe to the email list to stay up to date for notifications to see if you've won the tickets to the event or something. But that way, once you have all these people that have shared and pushed this thing out to everybody in their feed, because that's part of the requirements for winning, you also have an email list of several hundred people that are interested in going to this event. So now you have a way to communicate to them ongoing and regularly. Maybe they didn't win, but maybe you give them a second chance to win, or how else can you bring them back? Now you can continue to drip out marketing and promotions of, the other vendors and the other things that are going on there. But if you build that asset like that, you can get ahead and then you can really start to promote it. We used to do that with the fights and stuff like
that.
The
boxing thing, right?
Yeah.
I was going to say that's such a great idea.
Yeah. Zach had a question too. Tom, do you want to hit this one?
Okay. Question for Tom. What would you do if a client that has a budget, but the agreed price, and he's rushing you to finish, even though he's not paid in full? Zach, that's a great question. So, I would do one of two things. Like, hey, I would, either ask them to pay a partial. Like, I can put a rush on it. Like, let's say, I'm not sure what your structure was for this deal, but let's say that they gave you 50% up front and they still owe you 50%. One thing I would do is be like, look, I'm more than happy to put a rush on this and get my team working, but I'm going to incur costs due to that. So if you could do me a favor and please pay another 25%, and then you'll pay the final 25% when we go. Because they're kind of changing the deal, right? You should have agreed on a timeline in the beginning. And if they want you to push that up, then, you should get a concession for that as well. That would be one thing I would do. Nick, how would you handle that?
I think that's definitely a good approach to what you said. I also think that this situation, Zach, is definitely like a learning experience, because this specific situation can be hashed out in the beginning. If it hasn't already, setting the proper expectation at the beginning of the actual project will probably avoid this type of thing. Maybe there's some new external circumstance that has the project being rushed and he needs it ahead of the curve, but I get the feeling that that's not the case. Maybe he just had the expectation that it would be done a lot sooner, and therefore he's like, "Hey, where is this?" Even though he hasn't been painful. So if that's if that is what happened, it is definitely a learning experience. I know that when I don't set the expectations properly up front, whether it's a website or doing our 9x12 direct mail, Tom, all about the expectation setting there, right? When's that thing going to go to print? When are the ads going to be done? So, like, for example, what if somebody asks you sell an ad space on a mailer and say, well, when can we expect this thing to be sent out to our neighborhoods? What do you tell them?
I usually give them a range. I say, well, because this is co-op and we're obviously filling up all the spaces and we have a few left to fill. Our target right now is between this date and this date. But if something changes, I'll get in touch with you and let you know. Mm-hmm. Now, a lot of times, like, what really alleviates their worry there is when you're like, once they give you the money, if you're Johnny on the spot with collecting the information and designing their ad, like if you have somebody like Nick in the background doing all the ads super fast, then they're like, because what is that? Why are they asking those things, right? Like, they want to time it with their business, but also too, they're also looking for trust and confidence in you that they just gave money to. Like, what if this person doesn't do what they say they're going to do? So, it's interesting because I was just talking to Cody Weaver yesterday, and he was talking about the 3 things in sales that a person has to have. They have to trust your product, they have to trust you, and they have to trust your company. And a lot of the questions when people ask them really come back to those 3 things, right? Like, they're looking for a reason to do those things. So delivering awesome customer service, being super communicative with people, giving them something quickly in the beginning can help with that, but also just being upfront and managing those expectations out of the gate.
Yeah. Yeah. And Zach, if you do what Tom did there, that's a great example, right? He gives them a range, and chances are the range, like, there's a low end and a high end, and that's the way he does it, right? On the high end is probably something that he set that is going to take, like, if something actually goes bad, there's a chance that it's going to take an additional month or something like that. So he gives himself that opportunity so that if this comes up, if this becomes an issue, you can say, look, I said it was going to take maybe 1 to 3 months. We're only at 2.5 months Like we're not even near the 3-month mark yet. So you can always point back to that discussion that you had in the beginning, that expectation that you set in the beginning. But if that's not the case, Zach, the thing that you can do, if he has a budget, he's agreed to the price, he wants to get it out the door. If you feel like you can get it out the door faster if he pays you in full, then maybe you can just tell him that.
Yeah.
Just pay me and I'll work twice as hard, work overnight, burn the midnight oil for you. I don't normally do this, but I'm willing to do it because you need it. But all I ask is that you just pay me for my time right now.
Yeah. And I think the other thing too, and the other example you were talking about, when things take longer than expected, is the other key piece to that is being proactive, not reactive. So don't wait for the client. Like I used to do this. I was guilty of this. I used to be like, I just hope nobody notices. Maybe they're not thinking about it. So I just won't say anything. They're not saying anything.
I haven't heard anything yet.
Do not do that. Be proactive and reach out and be like, hey, I just want to give you an update on what's going on. Yeah. Most people are super understanding if you do that. But if you wait for them to contact you, they can get a little more testy.
Yeah. So, we actually have 2 projects just like this going on right now, Zach. They're getting toward the higher end of the deadline and they're kind of asking questions. And the project is actually taking a bit longer, not really because of us, but because of them, because they've taken time to give us the things that we've needed to build the websites or get the campaigns in gear. Like we've done our part, but now we're waiting on images or now we're waiting on content. So, sometimes it's good to also just, make sure that everybody knows that like why things take a certain amount of time or maybe why they are taking longer. That communication that Tom was referring to is really important. And it doesn't even have to be verbally, right? It can be email. Like I would say 90% of the communications that we have in our agency, especially in the beginning, was just all email. Like it was very little phone calls, very little Zoom meetings. Only in the last couple of years have we really picked up phone, Zoom, all that stuff. And it's really because we've built out a team that has been able to do that for us. Like I very rarely get on those
Sandy's
calls.
Question there, Nick. She wanted to know, how do you set the expectations? I don't watch her brother for client doesn't provide you info you need to complete. Sandy, I think what Nick was saying there, like the communication obviously is key, but also in the beginning, one thing you can do is say, listen, I'm laying out this timeline. I want to be very clear. This timeline is based on you getting me the things I need in a prompt manner. What is a prompt manner? Well, these are the things I need, and this is the deadline when you should have them to me. So set a deadline, and then that way, if they miss that deadline, you can come back to them and say, hey, you missed the deadline. Like, obviously, this is going to take longer. Like I told you up front, those types of things. It is a struggle to get clients to create. Every client thinks they can create the content themselves because they don't want you to charge them more. So they always go, I'll do it. And then it's like, it can be a struggle. So setting the deadlines, checking in with them proactively. Hey, how are we coming on the content? Where's that at? That deadline's coming up, those types of things. If they're not hitting the deadline, saying like, look, you passed the deadline. Listen, we need to get this out if we want to finish this thing on time. What if I create the content for you? I can create the content for you. It would only cost an additional whatever. You don't have to stress about it, and we can get this thing out the door. How's that? Right? So those types of things is what I would do there.
Yeah, you can always get started with placeholder content too, just to keep the ball rolling. Images from a stock photography website, placeholder content. Eventually you get to a place where you're like, hey, the website's done. We're just waiting for the images. We're waiting for the content from you. But basically we've built everything. So can you just pay us out on the final payment now because all the work is done? And when you do get the things that we need, we're happy to import those for you. No problem. But because you're taking forever, just give us our money, please.
Yeah. Great one. Fazan, yes. So, I mean, landscaping could be a really great one to start with. We love to target service businesses when we're first starting out. They just tend to be a little easier to work with. So that could be a really great one to start with. Veterinarians is not as high competition as dentists, but yes, you're on the right track there.
We actually have a vet client. They're like a key, the Wailea Wailea Paw. I forgot their name. Whatever. Paws and Pet. I don't know. Paws and Poodles or something like that. But yeah, we have some of them. But landscaping is actually a great niche because people pay a lot of money to have nice yards or get giant trees cut down, or branches trimmed. Like it can be pricey, and a lot of people are looking for that service. That's a great strategy that James has.
Yeah.
What's up, James? It's good to see him here.
Yep. Add this agreement barring any customer delays. Great tip. Jacqueline, I think that's the right approach. If they've been putting you off, then just bill them anyway. Say, look, when you get them to me, I'll add them. Everything else is done. Doran says, I have clients like Outsourcing right now too.
Yeah.
Awesome. So one thing I wanted to talk about, Nick, because we were talking about the fulfilling high ticket services you know nothing about. So I wanted to get this out before we go into the shark shout outs. And that is, how do we do that? What does that process look like? So I want to give you guys an example of, let's say social media management is a service that you know nothing about. You know zero about it. So we need to learn about it. Right? So how do we learn about it? So let me give you some specific strategies and tips to quickly learn about a service and then work your way into somebody who can do fulfillment for it. So number one, the most important thing when you're learning something new is vocabulary, terminology, right? So what I would do is I would go to Google, and this applies to any service that you want to learn, that you want to quickly, and when I say learn, like, you want to have a general understanding of it. You want to be able to talk relatively intelligently about it. And if someone else is talking about it, you want to be able to understand what the heck they're talking about. Okay. So I would first go to Google and I would do something like common social media terms and see if I can find a definition. I know, like, for SEO, there's some of that out there too, but I'm sure you can find one. So then I would start reviewing the terminology, looking at that. Then I would go to a site, maybe like look up some social media, like best social media blogs, maybe read some articles on them, just get an idea of what's out there. I would also see if I could go to a site like, well, let's use Upwork. Maybe I go to Upwork and I search for people that have social media postings on the site. And I would look over what those people are asking for, right? Like, what are the things they're looking to hire people to do in social media? Look at their jobs. That way, you start to get a feel for what the marketplace is looking for, right? So you're learning and you're doing market research and other things at the same time. So we're learning our terminology. Probably by reading those blogs and things, we're starting to discover some techniques that people say are good, things that they say work. We're starting to get a feel for that. Now we're looking through people that are posting, their actual clients looking for people to do social media. So I would try to find as many of those as I could to sort of get a pulse on, well, what are people looking for? What are they looking to hire people for? What are they looking to pay? Those kinds of things. I'd be keeping copious notes while I'm doing this, making tons of notes. Then I would find a job posting for a social media person, and I would post it to look to build somebody out for my fulfillment team. Way before I ever had a client. Now, why would I do this? Because number one, going through the process of vetting this person is going to give me more information about how to talk intelligently about social media. So let's say I've done those other things I've talked about. So I'm starting to get a rough understanding. Now I post a job. Maybe I just copy somebody else's job template, or I use the one that's given to me inside Remote Millionaires. We give you all our job templates. Like, I'll know kind of what that is. I'll post it. Now, when people apply, I get to then start talking to them and asking them questions. Well, what do you do for your social media packages? Anything that I've learned in my other step, like maybe I saw people looking for stuff and I'm like, well, do you do this? I noticed a lot of people ask for this. Do you do this? What does that look like? Can you send me a sample of that? If I wanted you to do that for me, how much would it cost? What are the packages you put together? Do you have common packages? Do you have standard things? Could you come up with 3 standard packages if you don't have any? What would those consist of? How much would those be? Look at all the information we're gathering through this process. And we're going to be talking to several different people that can do fulfillment. So we can also ask them questions. Hey, I noticed X, Y, and Z on your thing. I don't know what that is. Explain that to me. And what has been the results of that? Have you found that to be effective for clients? Does everybody offer that? Right? Like, we're using them to gain information about what we're selling and what the hard costs are going to be. So at the end of that process, even though you felt like you were just like thrown into the deep end of the pool because you don't know anything about this, look at all the stuff you know by the end of that process. You know what the market is looking for in social media. You know what those things are. You know what packages your fulfillment person can deliver on. You're confident in the quality of their work. You know what they're going to charge you. So you know, you now have the information you need to set your prices. You're not just making prices up out of thin air. Like, you have all that information. If you had all that, now you can craft your packages, your pricing. You're going to be able to talk about them intelligently. Maybe even have your fulfillment person give you some examples that you can use, case studies, that type of thing. Now, all you have to do is go out and sell that. Like, look at all that stuff you have there. And you, quote, didn't know anything about it. So that's the process that we've used over the years to learn and deliver services as quickly as possible. What you don't want to do is start buying every social media course you can think of and come across and make it your mission to go through all of them before you do anything. Do not do that. Only buy those things after you've done the process I've talked about, because then you'll be able to get information out of them that you can use and it'll apply to what you're doing. But if you follow the process I just laid out, you can start prospecting ASAP, which is the revenue producing activity you need to be doing. You don't need to be learning more about social media. You need to be prospecting. And then you can use the information you're pulling out of those courses as you're prospecting to help with that.
It's
all right.
It's,
end of sermon. Can I get an amen?
Amen. But let me say one thing on that, because it seems so simple, everybody. I know. And honestly, what Tom just shared with you has been such a huge leg up for me, for us, in so many times, and still even till this day, right? You're basically getting free consulting from somebody who has, you know, depending on who you're talking to, varying of very specific expert level experience in selling, delivering, whatever it is you're talking about to, you know, maybe they're a beginner or whatever. But man, I literally did this last night. Like, even at the level I'm at, I freaking, you know, made a job looking for somebody to do e-com email marketing. Like, I have experience in email marketing, but I'm not like the expert by any means, specifically e-commerce. I made a job. I got 3 or 4 people that I'm talking to right now. And, you know, I'm getting like info that I had no idea about before. Like, I learned about a new platform that everybody uses. It's called Klaviyo, which is like an e-com email marketing platform. Like, almost everybody's using it. It's like industry standard for e-com. I didn't know about this platform until I talked to somebody who is potentially going to be setting up these campaigns for me. And so, like, Tom and I, we milk these experiences for all that we can. You know, it's one of the reasons why I liked GoDaddy support for so long. Now, their tool, like what they offer is, you know, not great for expert level websites or giant trafficking websites or websites with giant traffic, but like the 24/7 support, I can't tell you how many times I had been like working on a website or migrating a website and been stuck and gotten on the phone with them. And I'm literally like asking them so many questions beyond just fixing the website, but they're happy to tell you, you know? So it's very important to use all the support infrastructure you have. If you're not in Remote Millionaires yet, if you're in Remote Millionaires, then we have this incredible support infrastructure, which you get to use. And we're there for you, you know, basically at all times. So JT, Remote Millionaire, is here with a new photography website that he just closed. $4,200. Congratulations, sir. That's awesome. Dorn says, do they offer support when they get hacked? Dorn, I have had many client websites get hacked. Some of them on GoDaddy. And yeah, they actually, like, I call them up and I'm like, hey, this website's down. They're like, oh, it looks like it's hacked. We can either you know, you pay us a fee and we'll revert it, or you can, you know, fix it yourself. And I'll be like, well, what do you mean it's hacked? Like, how is it hacked? Can you give me more info? And like, I'll just, you know, try to get as much as I can from them. And yeah, I mean, it's almost always led me to fixing the issue.
Oh yeah, there is a good one. Somebody said.
Oh, GoDaddy got hacked. I didn't know that. Yeah. I mean, everybody gets hacked at some point, right?
That's the new thing. Everybody does it.
Yeah.
Hey, Shushan, if you're watching this, one thing that if you guys could help me figure out, whenever I am in StreamYard and I make a reply to a comment, it only replies in YouTube. It doesn't reply on Facebook, and I cannot figure out why.
I know how to do it. Like if you click that little all with the arrow next to it down in the chat box.
Yep.
Does it show all destinations or is it just remote? The Facebook
well, it says Offline Sharks YouTube, but the Facebook one is grayed out.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe it's because it's not
can't post comments to some destinations. Okay. All right. Well, now I know I'm on the right. You put me on the right track. Right. There we go. Okay.
$50, please.
Yeah. Okay. We need to do some shout outs. Let's do some shout outs. I think we delivered some pretty good value there.
You guys appreciate the value that we delivered today? Let us know if in the comments if you got some valuable intel out of everything that we shared. Got some nuggets, some good takeaways.
Yeah, let's do some shark shout outs. Here we go. Oops, hold on.
Someone said very much. I appreciate that.
Okay, here we go. Let me get to the share. Okay. All right, this week we got a lot of really great shout outs. So first up, Norm Thomas, $1,000 a month. For 8 1,600 plus word articles, all high ranked. Oops, my screen went all wonky. Excellent job, Norm. Marvin Drobes, Google Ads client, $99 setup and $300 management fee on a $1,500 ad spend. Review Pop on a restaurant site, $197 per year.
Nice.
Upgrade Google Business Profile, $97 plus $199 for 3 months. Management to a former client. Excellent. Excellent work.
Excellent job, gentlemen.
Excellent work. Oh, by the way, I forgot to do this. I'm sorry. Before I started these, I should have done this. I mentioned at the beginning of the show that we only have like 2 spots left in Remote Millionaire. So if you're on this call or you've been looking at that and you haven't put in an application yet, please make sure to go to offlinesharks.com/apply, get an application in so we can get you scheduled in. I'm just going to let that scroll by the bottom of the screen so you guys can do that. Our next shout out goes to Dan Johnson. Dan had his first win. That is a big one. Dan, the first one's always a big one. $1,000 for paid ads work for a local portable storage building outfit. Now there's a niche I would not have thought of, but that's awesome. Bill Stanley closed 2 project management contracts for $4,500 and $2,700. Excellent work, Bill. Terrence Allen, a newer RM member, sold a website build to an electrician, 500 pounds, $560, and got half of the deposit up front. Congratulations, Terrence. And then Bobby Roel, another RM member, closed a deal for a logo edit, $200. And then Dan Lesser, another RM student, closed a home services jackpot plumbing website, $500 and $497 per month SEO.
Wow.
So $1,120. He's been crushing it with that strategy.
Wow.
Yeah. And then Nick Ponte, the team wrangled in a $12K website for a tattoo shop.
It's a big website. They also sell a lot of different things.
Yeah.
Lots of e-com stuff.
Yep. For those of you that are keeping track at home, that brings our grand total for the week of October 8th to October 14th to $23,972. That makes our total since the start of 2022, we have generated $1,206,027. Well, you, not us, you, all of you out there have generated $1.2 million in closed deals from the strategies and services that we teach. It's awesome to see. So congratulations, everybody.
And I had to take a screenshot of that. That's freaking amazing.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
You get your screenshot?
I got it. Or
Okay.
I took a picture on my phone. Posted it to the gram story, you know? Proud of that. I'm proud of it.
I'm taking it down. It is. It's super. I mean, it's so awesome to see all that stuff. So
yeah.
Awesome. Let's look through these comments here. Yeah, look.
I guess we have to give away some money and do our
oh, you did. We should probably do.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money. Money.
Dollar. Ching, bling, bling, cut the chatter. You ain't talking money, then you're talking no matter.
That song always perks me up. Sometimes I
Always.
have to tell you guys, sometimes I get on the live show and I'm like, oh, we're doing another live show. Like, we've been doing these for so long, every Friday. I'm not always super energized, but once the show starts, I'm like, and then I start going through the shout outs. I get fired up by the time I get off of here. I'm like, yeah, let's go.
Yeah. I always get fired up when we start talking about good stuff, you know, like
Oh, yeah.
all the stuff that
Yeah.
we started talking about today. That's what, when people come with good questions and we start riffing on stuff that is like very relevant and I know is helping everybody, that gets me fired up.
Yeah, that's really great. So awesome. All right. Okay. So let's give away some money. Let me pull up the old Slack here. The winners today are Rob Traffy and Wayne Gilchrist.
All right. Somebody said I show up every week to hear that beat. I bet you show up every week to win the
training's
money.
Decent too.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Well, hey, we really appreciate you joining us for this week of the Aloha Friday Marketing Jam Session. We're going to be here next Friday, same shark time, same shark channel. Please make sure, go listen to the podcast. If you haven't already, go to that link, offlinesharks.com/apply, put in an application. We would love to see you inside Remote Millionaires. People are just crushing it in there. It's really great to see. So yeah, what a great show.
Yeah. Awesome show, everybody. We got 2 spots left. Tom and I would love to be working with you. If you haven't applied, go do it now, and we'll see you there.
Yep. Awesome. Well, I'm going to cue up the intro, and we'll see you next week. Aloha.
Outro.
Stay safe, everybody.
You've been watching the Aloha Marketing Jam Session, your weekly marketing live show, always bringing you the latest strategies and tactics to build your remote empire from anywhere in the world. Don't forget to like, comment, and share this stream. You can stay up to date throughout the week with the Remote Millionaires podcast at remotemillionaires.com/podcast and Nick's YouTube videos at nickponte.com/YouTube. We'll be back here next Friday for another live show. Until then, aloha.